Hello everyone, it's Batwolf. I had recently been requested by a fellow YouTuber named Rayu to make a review for his DC fan film, Batman, Red Hood vs. Robin. And like the film enthusiast I am, I was happy to oblige. Now if you haven't seen the movie but you're checking out this video, then I suggest you go down to the Rayu page, watch the Red Hood vs. Robin movie, and then come back to look at this review. As this is my first review, I wanted to take the time to explain how I would rate such a film. I want to make this easier to rate by doing a 10-point scale. If the criteria's expectations are met, then it'll receive the full point. If not, partial to no points. My 10 criteria for the scale are: writing for the concepts, storytelling, and actions of the film, acting, the general feel of / for characters and the beliefs in their actions, lighting for enhancing the drama of the scene and creating an environment, cinematography for moving along with your characters and angles that tell your story, editing for how you bring your story together, sound to be able to hear what the situation is, pacing for how much time is spent on the situation, design for how the sets and characters look, location if the place they filmed at represents the story well, and finally theme if we understand what the film is trying to say and if it meets that expectation. So for this or any film I review in the future, if it only gets 0 to 2 points, then it is a horrible film. If it gets 3 to 4, then it is a bad film. If it's 5 to 6, then it's okay. 7 to 8 is good, along with 9, which is very good. And rarest of them all, a 10 out of 10, a perfect film. So without further ado, let us begin. The screenplay by Rayhan is, in my opinion, well written. The way characters are written is so well done and for the most part believable. Damien, for one, and the way he carries himself in all of the dialogue he's in feels like him.
Gotham. Before this ridicule started to become a boring old show.
I especially love how he talks about the difficulty in saving Gotham for his father.
I only wish to see Gotham rinsed of all its impurities. Like you once did.
I mean, that just feels like something Damian Wayne would say. All of Red Hood's dialogue and his beliefs are just like in the comics. How he thinks that letting criminals live is a mistake because all they'll do is escape the judgment of the law and return to their lives of crime.
No, they never learn now, do they?
I think one of the best lines is when Red Hood aims his gun at Damian's suit and describes why he is doomed to make the same mistakes as Bruce.
This used to be mine. And look how I turned out.
I love the dialogue between Red Hood and Robin because it doesn't just feel like two vigilantes arguing over a city, more like two brothers arguing over their father's legacy.
You're a funny one, aren't you? How about you leave my city? And by doing so, you get to live to tell the tale.
Your city, Gotham, is in chaos because of criminals like you.
I like the end credit scene because it allows us to guess who this Tim might be. And unless you're a comic book fan, you can guess that Tim was once a Robin and will make a return.
Tim, I need your help.
There was very little for me to dislike about the writing, but I can't ignore the major mistake I have witnessed during the film's climax. After winning the battle, Red Hood removes his helmet, which is fine, but he leaves it in the middle of nowhere, then just a few seconds later, leaves most likely to fight crime again. This is a mistake because it is illogical. If you were a superhero and you knew you were going to meet criminals with guns on the daily, then why would you leave your bulletproof helmet? And even if he was just going home, not only can someone steal it, but they can also see that the dead Jason Todd is still alive. But as I said, I really enjoyed the dialogue and the feel of the story, which is why I am giving this a 0.5. The acting in this film is pretty good. You can actually feel the emotions coming from the characters. Ismar Khan's Damian Wayne is the best performance of the film. I love when he's grieving for the loss of his father. I love how even when he's alone, he can't allow himself to even cry. He can't allow himself to feel too much emotion because he is a warrior and he has to stay on task like his father would want him to. How he gets so angry at Red Hood for basically spitting on his father's memory feels real. When he's being beat by Red Hood, it feels real. It feels like he's actually in pain and like he needs our help. And we feel bad for him because he's being slammed down. I mean, his performance is probably the best part of this film. Throughout all of his actions, Red Hood actually feels aggressive. Even when he's just walking, it feels like he is truly angry. Rayhan's best scenes in the movie are when he's either threatening someone or when he's fighting, because it feels real, because it feels like he really wants to hurt someone. Just like how Jason Todd was murdered, he wants revenge, and he's taking it out on not just Gotham, but he's taking it out on Batman's legacy. Although the acting was good, and this was actually Rayhan's first film, I will say that there are a few moments where it seemed like he wasn't sure what emotion to feel. And as I said, Red Hood's character is an angry one. He's angry at the world for about everything, from how he died, how he was brought back to life, and how his father figure / mentor won't take him in and won't agree with him. He should feel angry. When he beats Damian afterwards, he should look totally sad, and we should see that. It's hard to tell what he's feeling in that moment. However, like the writing, there's a blemish that is too distracting not to talk about and downgrades the acting of the film. The thug that is being chased by Red Hood actually manages to make getting shot and falling look real. However, when the gun is pushed in his face, he acts as if he's not in any danger.
Please, I got a family.
See what I mean? I mean, it was just too distracting not to talk about. Plus, he's already killed someone right next to you that we saw in the elevator, and he has a gun to your head. You should be way more afraid than that. My advice to directors is, if you're not sure of the person's acting ability and you don't want to hurt their feelings, you need to remember that this is your movie and that your name is going on it. And if you feel that you should take another take your time and do it again. With that said, I sadly have to give the acting a 0.5. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, the lighting is subpar, which is why I gave it a 0.5. I gave it the 0.5 because it manages to balance out the good and the bad. Two scenes where it's bad is one being when Damian visits his father's grave. I mean, this is a really important moment. There's some really good acting here, and we should really see it reflect off of his face. As we said, Damian Wayne doesn't show a lot of emotion, so we really need to see that with the lighting. The other bad lighting is in Tim's home. Yes, he turns on a light, but it's nearly non-existent. There should really be some dramatic lighting, something creative that could tell us how dramatic this scene is actually supposed to be. Tim is being represented to us like he's the solution of the problem, and if he is, he needs to be shown that way. He needs to be shown to be the light to Red Hood's dark. And sadly, it just seems like he's another character lost to darkness. And as I said, there are some good instances with the lighting. For example, all of the scenes with the underground parking lot and the elevator look really good. You can still see the colors of the costume, the fighting, and the dramatic feel of pain, force, and emotions in their actions. The other scene is when we get a good look at Jason. Whatever he lacks in emotions, he makes up for in the drama of the lighting, which is the opposite of the Damian scene. They are balanced, which is why I give this department a 0.5. The way the scenes were shot was satisfying. Now, I'm not saying that they had the best camera movements or anything, but there isn't really anything wrong with it. They do what they're set out to do, and which is why I'm giving it the first part to receive a full 1 point. While altogether the editing is acceptable and the transitionings and the special effects are pretty good, I am going to have to give this department a 0. My reasoning for the 0 is the fact that Robin in separate scenes is not wearing gloves, then wearing gloves, and the same comes to his mask. This is going to sound really harsh, but the truth is, someone decided that this was going to be the final cut. Whoever was editing this didn't take the time to try to fit this together, and when they were filming it, they actually thought that this was a good idea. Or at least they didn't care enough to retake it, and that's why I have to give it a 0. The sound was favorable, the music was dramatic, and at points where it needed to be sad, epic, and cool, they were. I love the fight scene sound effects because all the kicks, the punches, the blocks, everything, even the grunts, they made the fight seem more real. And I adored this scene where Damien both touches and places down the flowers on top of the grave, as there was so much detail into the sounds. With the awesome picks for music and attention to detail, I give the full 1 point. The pacing was admirable. I thought that the way they spent time on each event did not feel dragged out for time or unnecessary. I felt that we got enough time with each character and they had the desired effect as they were on the screen. By now you may realize that I really do like the fighting inside of this movie, and the reason why is because it's not too fast and not too slow. Not too fast in the sense that we can't tell what's going on, and not too slow where it feels like we could keep up with these characters. The only thing I wish we got was more scenes of Gotham City to understand why it is that Red Hood feels that it's doomed, but honestly, I think it deserves its point. The design of the film was worthy enough to receive a full 1 point. Not only am I giving this point because the actors actually kind of look like the comic book characters, but instead of making their costumes out of something like cardboard to really show that this is a fan film, they went out and they bought some motorcycle suits to make themselves really come out and show that they care to make this look like armor. I liked Robin's mask and how it didn't push off of his face, and I liked how Red Hood's helmet didn't make his head look absurdly large, and I appreciated the white eyes like in the comics. Now, I know that there will be a lot of people saying that Red Hood's eyes look a bit too bulgy, and maybe that Robin's suit looks a bit too painted, but I will say that I rather appreciated this detail. I appreciated that Red Hood's mask looks a bit worn. I mean, look at the scratches, and yes, it would look a bit off over the years that he's been using it. Plus, if we're talking over the years, he's already said that Damien's suit was once his, so of course it's been worn out over the years. I appreciate the detail, and that is definitely why it deserved its point. The locations of the film are actually one of my favorite parts. I love how every single parking lot scene from the entrance to the end feels like Gotham City. I like how nice and organized the cemetery looks. And even though it was fast, I really liked that Tim's house actually looks like a home and not like a movie set. And even though it was small, I really liked the Gotham City image that we received. Now, the only pet peeve I really have about the locations is more of a personal one. I didn't really like that there was a cross on Bruce Wayne's tombstone because he was actually an atheist. And while this may be more of my own concern, I would rather be true to the comics. But hey, maybe this version believed in God. I don't know, maybe I'm just being picky. So here's your point. So this brings me no pleasure to say, but the film's message was nearly non-existent. Now, theme is a criteria that I can't really give partial points for because a lot of people will say that it is arguably one of the most important parts of any movie or story. Now, I watched this a few times, and though I was rooting for it, I just didn't understand what the message was. And since I was confused, I went out to Rayhan and I actually asked him what was the message of the film. He said, the message of the film is about vengeance and redemption. Red Hood wants to make Gotham a better place, but Damien doesn't believe in violence anymore after the death of his father and wants to deal with things accordingly. And when I had heard that, I liked what he was saying. However, the only problem it really solved for me was that now I know why Damien lost to Red Hood so easily when he beat him in the comics. And overall, I can kind of see the theme that he's trying to go for, but the reality is that if I have to go ask the creator what is the theme of the story because he didn't understand it all the times he watched it, then is it really that great of a theme? Honestly, if the story was about legacy or mourning, that would make more sense because we could see that happening within the storyline. However, it wasn't, and what we had didn't match up to the message, and that's why it deserves a 0. With the final points tallied, it comes up to a 6.5, which lands it on the OK film place. Some final thoughts I have is that I want to thank Rayu for reaching out to me and tell him not to be too hard on himself. Look, we get enough crap from people in this world. I mean, we push people down if we don't have something to show of our own. I myself have videos that are not the best quality, but I am proud of them because they allow me to better myself as an artist. So to the Rayu channel, I just want to say good job guys. I mean, this was your first film and you did okay. So if you've stuck around this long, thanks for watching. I would appreciate it if you dropped a like on this video. Let me know if you want to see more reviews of movies and TV shows on the Batwolf channel, and subscribe for a variety of content coming your way. Also, definitely don't forget to check out and subscribe to Rayu's channel as he has more videos coming, and I think he deserves more recognition for this fan film. Thanks to the YouTuber Tulin for checking out the video and letting me know what they think about it. With that said, this is Batwolf, howling out.